All right, friends and loved ones, here we are. Next step. Are you ready? And honey, you might say yes, but I don't know. We will see. The next step of this journey to self management is commitment. Commitment. Now, I know I talked to you about trust and I know I talked to you about truth, but neither of those can be done without commitment. So, commitment, my friends, is the absolute first step, if you ask me. Because if you do not commit to yourself, you can never commit to stuff. You can't commit to trust. You can't commit to truth, right? So we have to be faithful to something, right? Now, I want us to scale back because what I don't want you to be faithful to is you. I want you to be faithful to God. If we keep God first and we learn commitment through our discipleship, we learn our commitment through what ministry truly means. If we can work that out as faithful disciples of Christ, then when it comes to the commitment to self, it's more natural. Commitment to self is not a problem when we have learned to commit to the supreme, when we have learned to commit to our God. So think about that. When we think about self management, yeah, we need commitment, but it's not commitment to self that we need, it is commitment to the Creator. Because being committed to the Creator will help us to see self, know self, learn self, trust self, and be true to self in ways that we can never do when we are doing it alone. So commit to God, and all other commitment will follow. From that, commit to self. Why? Because we want others to commit to us. We want others to commit to the things that we're doing. We want others to commit and show up for our business. But if we have not done that for self first, then how can we then expect others to do what we are not first modeling? We have to learn, what does that even look like? If I must manage myself, what does that commitment look like? And once I have assessed what it looks like within myself and for myself and by myself, what it looks like with myself, then I can set that as a standard and a requirement or expectation for others. So I must stand in commitment with me, for me, by me, because of me. And I must honor the commitments that I have stated, the commitments that I have begun, right? Because those things take time. It is a process. Commitment, loyalty, faithfulness, it takes time to develop, right? The first time you show up is not commitment, that is showing up. But if you show up over and over and over again, my friend, then you can count yourself committed. So, how do you support yourself in the commitments that you are making? In the commitments that you need to make, in the change that you need to make. So we get really stuck sometimes in, again, the external things. But if we cannot commit to ourselves internally, again, that is a spiritual and a soulful status, then we can never expect others to come into our lives and be thusly committed. Right? How have you supported yourself in your commitment to yourself? And then have you set a standard where others can support you as you commit to you? We're looking for others to show up for us, right? My friends don't support my business. Honey, have you supported you in your business? And if you have, that is enough. Because as you show yourself that standard, then it does not have to be a requirement for anyone else. It is simply required that you do that for yourself. And as we stated earlier, it is a process. It is not something that happens overnight. You must do it and do it and do it and do it some more. And guess what? Commitment is not something that is perfected. Commitment is something that you do beyond failure. So, as it is a process, allow yourself valuable steps in the process. That's sometimes failure, right? It's a process. In order to commit for the long term, you need to create a plan. Don't make commitment, again, be a one time thing, and don't make commitment be something that you only can do if everything is going well. Commit to yourself, even if it is not going well. Commit to yourself even when things are going downhill, when you are struggling on the struggle bus, when life is a struggle bus. Create a plan for overcoming the struggle. Create a plan for committing beyond the good days, committing even when you don't feel like it, even when no one else is doing it, even when others are not showing up, even when they're not showing up for you, when they're letting themselves down. Will you let you down? That's the question. So give yourself time to develop within the plan that you have created. But if your plan does not make room for overcoming obstacles, if your plan does not consider what do you do in times of failure? What do you do in times of self-defeat? What do you do in times of negativity? What do you do when others don't show up like you want them to show up? Can you still commit beyond the letdown? Can you ramp up to the plan? Now, when I say ramp up, this is not meaning that we set up a plan that is going to be a passive, casual plan that doesn't require much. That plan is careless. We want a plan that is careful, full of care. A plan that allows us failure but does not make failure an expectation. A plan that allows us to be, um, let's say, peace filled without being casual and careless. A plan that allows us to take our time without taking all the time. So make sure you create a plan of commitment that is enough of rigor, but also enough balance to allow yourself times for rest. Some of us are resting entirely too much. But I'm not here to talk to you about that today. Today, I'm talking to you simply about commitment. Ramp up. Now, when you have decided to commit to self, you have to be absolutely 100% non negotiable about that commitment. When you show up as 100% non negotiable about your commitment to self, you have already set the pattern and the standard to attract the same. Law of attraction, the law of reciprocity, the law of reaping and sowing, they are all working here. So, again, when we are looking at others who might have failed us, who let us down, who don't show up the way that we show up for them, so on, all of this, think about how many times you've let yourself down. How many times have you not shown up for you? How many times did you doubt yourself and let that be enough to say, well, I'm not going to do it? How many times did you not trust yourself and let that be enough to say, well, I'm not going to go forward? How many times did you get doubtful and you said, well, you know what? I don't want anyone to see me fail, so I'm not going to do anything at all. If you failed yourself many times, then surely others can let you down from time to time. But when you become 100% absolutely certain that you are non negotiable about your commitment to self, then, honey, you can guarantee others will do the same, not just for themselves, but first and foremost for you. And that is going to be so important in your business. That absolutely will change your life, let alone imagine how it can be employed in business. When you work hard for yourself in business, then you can absolutely trust that people will back you the same way you back yourself. When people know, honey, this woman is about her business, this person is about their business, then absolutely when they show up for you, they're going to show up in tow the same way you show up. People will not be half stepping if you won't be half stepping yourself. When I talk to you about pricing, I'm going to remind you that people will not nickel and dime you if you do not nickel and dime yourself. So, commitment is much the same. If you show up unabashedly, loyally, and faithfully in a big way for yourself, then, honey, you can trust that others will absolutely do the same. Law of attraction works every time. Reaping and sowing works every single time. You get what you give. You give commitment, you will absolutely get commitment. Now, going beyond that, we must be reminded if we set no or low expectations for ourselves, then what are we holding other people accountable to? Again, we are often looking for others to show up in some type of miraculous ways. But are we showing up that way for ourselves? We judge people according to how they show up for us. Do you judge yourself according to how you showed up for yourself? My. You just need to pause the video. Just pause right there. You need to take a walk with that. Have a little talk with Jesus about that one. Have we held ourselves to the same standard that we have held other people to? Or have we created a standard that others aspire to? When people see how well you treat yourself, they will treat you the same way. And when they treat you the same way, then they will learn I can treat myself well too. So, your commitment to you can truly change someone else's life. But I want you to think about it in terms of how you expect your business to run, how you want people to just pay their invoices, how you want people to pay big money for the ministry that you're bringing forward, how you want people to sow into you, to seed into you, to take care of you, to open their doors and their homes for you. Have you committed to yourself in a way where you can expect life, where you can expect God to show up for you without a shadow of a doubt because you have already set that type of standard. So let me tell you something about favor. And favor is real good. And favor seems like it requires nothing of us. Grace requires nothing of us. But let me tell you something about favor. Favor, it takes work. To whom much is given, much is required. So when we get favor, it's like a certain type of reciprocity. It's a certain type of a way of doing things where I don't just get favor. I don't just walk in favor. But what I do with my favor is I show that I'm grateful. I show that I am appreciative. I live a life that can have a seat of favor. Why? Because I can walk humbly. I can walk graciously. I can walk gratefully. And so favor ties hand in hand with commitment for me. Because if I treat myself well, then surely you're going to do the same. Why? Because I lived a life that set itself according to the standard of commitment, favor, faithfulness, generosity, loyalty. Come on, y'all. Are you feeling what I'm saying here? Don't miss this. This is very, very important. So when you can set a standard of whatever it is, that's your business. When you set a standard, then life for you becomes a standard. Personally, I live a life that is full of so much generosity, and I am so blessed by all the generosity I see, even in my business, especially in my business, because God has taken care of me. God has absolutely blessed me. But one thing I do, either in return or let's say proactively, as I'm generous, I bless other people, right? I make room for my life to be a life that experiences generosity because I am a generous person. And guess what? I wasn't always generous. Why? Because I had a lack mentality. And in the lack mentality, you don't give anything because you're afraid of not having anything or not having enough. But when you live a life of abundance, y'all about to make me preach in here, and that's not what I came to do. When you live a life of abundance, you expect abundance. Huh? You expect nothing less than abundance because you've committed your mind to it. Your life has set the standard of abundance. And so, guess what? You can expect abundance from others because you live that way for yourself. You hold others even accountable to that, not because you have a life that keeps your hand out or is always looking for generosity, but because you give to others, which sets your hands open and free for others to give to you. That's commitment. That is how you change your life and how you change the lives of others. Now, commitment. We've said this over and over and over again. I'm going to say it for you one more time, honey, because I don't want you to miss it. Do not miss this. Show up for yourself and set the standard for others to do the same. Let yourself down and you know the rest.